Hello, and welcome to another video in our IELTS series. My name is Jo Ridd, and I'm a teacher and teacher trainer at International House London. I've taught hundreds of students who've gone on to take IELTS. The copyright for this video belongs to International House London, and reproducing it in any part is illegal. Okay, let's get started. Before you watch this video, make sure you've watched the video called Part 2 Writing Introductions. It'll give you an overall understanding of what an introduction for Part 2 writing is. We're going to look at a question and practice writing an introduction for that question. Look at this question. The amount of waste we produce as a society is growing and growing, and landfills are starting to overflow. What are the causes of this, and what are some possible solutions? We know we need to paraphrase the statement and show how we're going to organise the essay. But how do we actually do that? First, we need to paraphrase the statement in the opening of our introduction. So, in this question, which sentence is the statement?
This sentence. The amount of waste we produce as a society is growing and growing, and landfills are starting to overflow. This is the statement sentence.
So we need to paraphrase this statement. What does paraphrase mean? It means we repeat with different words or grammar. So we need to say all the same information as the statement has, but we need to use different grammar or different words, or sometimes even both. If you simply repeat exactly the same words and grammar from the statement, you're not showing that you've understood it, and you're not showing that you have any control over your use of English.
Okay, so with grammar, for example, we could change the amount of waste we produce as a society is growing and growing to society is producing more and more waste. So we've taken the noun here, society, and we've made it the subject of this sentence. And the grammar here, present continuous, is being used to show that something is happening at the moment. So we've used the same grammar here to show the same thing. Okay, you try. Look at this sentence. The amount of pollution our industries are creating is increasing every year. Try changing this by changing the grammar. Start with industries. Here's a good example of a good answer. Industries are creating more and more pollution.
Okay, so changing the grammar is a good way to paraphrase if you can't think of alternative words. However, if you can think of different vocabulary that means the same thing as the statement, you're going to be able to show that you have a range of vocabulary. Let's look at the word society. Can you think of some other words that mean the same thing as society? Here are some possibilities. Community, humanity, people, population, civilization. Okay, so they all mean generally the same thing as society, but only some of them are appropriate for the use of society in this question, for the exact meaning of society in this question. So we need to figure out which ones are good and which ones are bad. Look at these examples where different words have been used instead of society. One of them is incorrect, we can't use it, and one of them is the best one for our essay. Can you decide which is incorrect and which is the best?
People are producing more and more rubbish each year. Community is producing more and more rubbish each year. Humanity is producing more and more rubbish each year. Here, community is incorrect. It doesn't have the same meaning of society as the question uses. People is okay in terms of the meaning, but humanity is the best. It's more appropriate for an academic work.
Here I want you to do the same thing. Look at these examples where different words have been used instead of the word producing. Which one do you think is incorrect and which one's the best?
Humanity is creating more and more rubbish each year. Humanity is generating more and more rubbish each year. Humanity is fabricating more and more rubbish each year. Fabricating is totally wrong because that means something different. Creating is okay, but generating is the best one here because it's the most academic.
Okay, let's do the same thing again. Look at these examples where different words have been used instead of the word waste. What do you think about each of them? Which one is the best?
Humanity is generating more and more debris each year. Humanity is generating more and more rubbish each year. Humanity is generating more and more litter each year. So debris is wrong because it has a different meaning. And litter also has a different meaning. It's really similar to rubbish, but litter's usually small amounts of waste, so it's wrong here. So rubbish is the best one because it has the most similar meaning to the word waste in this question.
Okay, let's put it all together and let's look at our final sentence where we've paraphrased the statement from the question.
So the statement was, the amount of waste we produce as a society is growing and growing and landfills are starting to overflow. And our paraphrased introduction is, humanity is generating more and more rubbish each year and we are running out of places to put it all. So we've got some good vocabulary that we've used in place of some of the vocabulary from the original statement. For example, society, produce and waste. And we've also slightly changed the grammar.
Okay, so now that we've paraphrased the statement and we've got that as our first sentence in our introduction, we can add a little bit more information. This can show that you fully understood the question, and you can also highlight some things that you're going to talk about later in your essay. So here are 3 sentences. I want you to read each sentence and decide which one you think is the best to go as the second sentence in our introduction.
This is due to a number of problems, including a lack of awareness, poor recycling, and a consumer culture. This is due to a number of problems, such as people not being aware enough of how much rubbish we as a society create and where it all goes. This is due to a number of problems, such as 80% of the world's rubbish being created by just 5% of the population. Okay, so the third one isn't great because it goes into really specific details, which is unnecessary in an introduction. We don't need these numbers, for example. The second one gives one general example, so it talks about people not being aware enough. But the first one is actually the best one because it gives a few different examples: a lack of awareness, poor recycling, and a consumer culture. And these examples can be expanded upon in the main body of the essay. So this one is the best one.
Alright, so once you've paraphrased the statement, and that's your first sentence in your introduction, and said a little bit more about the topic, you now need to say what the purpose of the essay is or how you're going to organise it. So how you're going to organise the essay like this. Let's create a sentence together that explains what the essay intends to do.
So we want to say what the essay intends to do. Here are some useful words for this sentence. Essay, intent, highlight, key, causes, suggest, potential, solutions. Use these words in order to write one sentence for the end of the introduction. Start with this essay. Pause the video while you work. Okay, here's a good sentence. Pause the video and compare it to yours.
Okay, so we've looked at all of the different parts of an introduction. Let's put it all together and look at our finished introduction.
Humanity is generating more and more rubbish each year, and we are running out of places to put it all. This is due to a number of problems, including a lack of awareness, poor recycling, and a consumer culture. This essay intends to highlight key causes of this problem and suggest potential solutions.
Okay, so let's look at some other writing part 2 questions and have a go at some introduction work.
Okay, you need to read the question at the top and read the introduction paragraph underneath. Think about this question. Is the structure of the introduction paragraph appropriate for a writing part 2 essay? Pause the video while you read. Okay, let's look at it together. So there are 3 sentences in this introduction. Let's look at each one. The first sentence attempts to paraphrase the question statement. That's the right thing to do. The grammar isn't great, but they have done the right thing in terms of the structure, so this one's good. The second sentence begins to talk about the possible causes, but it goes into far too much detail, so this one isn't great. It's too detailed. It should be just an overview of the causes. The third one goes into too much detail about the solutions, so this isn't good, and it also doesn't explain how the rest of the essay will be structured. So the first sentence is good, trying to paraphrase the statement, but then this student has written far too much information. There's far too much detail that really should be in the main body of the essay, not the introduction. Okay, so this time I want you to read the question and then read the introduction paragraph that a student has written. Pay particular attention to the grammar, and I want you to think about the last sentence a lot. Do you think it's a good sentence? And is there a better way to say this? Pause the video while you work. Okay, let's start with the grammar. Generally, it's okay, but this student constantly makes the same mistake, and it's with the word the. So here, they've written the society. If we say the society, we're being specific, but in this introduction, she's not being specific, so we need to get rid of the. So it's the rapid development of society, just society in general. The same mistake has been made here with globalization. We're not talking about a specific globalization, it's general. Countries are becoming more similar than before because of globalization. Okay, the other problem here is the final sentence at the bottom. From my perspective, I think it has more disadvantages in development than its positive effects. There are a number of issues here. I understand why the student has chosen to use the word disadvantages, because actually, if you look back in the question, they use these words, positive or negative. So the student is trying to paraphrase by using disadvantages. However, here, disadvantages in development, that's not the same meaning as development up here in the question. And also, if you have disadvantages, to have its positive effects doesn't sound very good. They don't go well against each other. The other problem here is this. From my perspective, I think. From my perspective, and I think, mean the same thing. We don't need both, we only need one of them. And from my perspective, fits better with an academic essay. So, let's get rid of I think. And let's change it has more disadvantages in development than its positive effects. Let's change it to the disadvantages far outweigh the advantages. Okay, this paragraph is much better now. Okay, read the question at the top and then read the introduction paragraph which has been written by a student. I want you to think about 2 things. Is the structure good? And is the grammar and vocabulary good? Pause the video while you read. Let's talk about the structure briefly. The structure is good. The first sentence paraphrases the question statement. The second sentence gives a few possible reasons, but it doesn't go into too much detail. And the third sentence talks about the disadvantages overweighing the advantages, so it suggests that that's what the essay is going to say and how it will be structured. The problems here are mainly due to grammar and vocabulary. There are quite a lot of errors. We're going to look at the first sentence in detail, and then I'll show you a few other errors briefly. So in the first sentence, the first error is right at the beginning. It is not surprised to see people. Here, we can't use surprised. It's the wrong word. This ed is the wrong grammar. The meaning is fine, but the ed is wrong. It should be surprising. Okay. Another problem is this: people among young generation. It's not grammatically correct, and also it's not the best way to say this. I know what you mean, but this isn't the most academic way to say this, really. Instead, let's say young professionals. A third problem in this line is this word here, too. If we look back here, we can see the word see, which is a verb. See can't be followed by to change. It needs to be followed by the bare infinitive, just change, no to. So, see young professionals change their jobs. Okay. In the second line, there are a few issues as well. First of all, very often is okay, but there are better, more academic ways to say the same thing, like frequently. Finally, in this first sentence, we've got this, which is quite different to the old one. The old one, they mean the old generation. They want to say that the young generation is different to the old one. I understand what they mean here, but this isn't the best way to say it. A better way to say it would be using words like in contrast to. So let's try in contrast to older generations. Okay, there are a few other issues throughout the rest of this introduction. Let's look at a few. The first one is here. Great working stress should be great amount of stress. Another one is here. Shoulder and scarcity, we're missing something. So there is stress that they shoulder, which means they carry the stress, and it's because there aren't enough promotion opportunities. So we either need because of or due to. Another problem is here, promoting opportunities. This is the wrong word here. It shouldn't be promoting. We need a different form of this word, promotion. Another problem is the grammar. Here we've got has been a common situation. That suggests that it could be finished, but it's not finished. It's still a problem, still a situation. So we need to get rid of has been, and we need to use is. Don't try and use present perfect just because it looks like it's a more complex piece of grammar. Sometimes present simple is what you need. Finally, the last part of the introduction isn't great. The problem is that it simply repeats the question, and also I still think isn't the best thing to use in an academic essay. So instead, let's change it to, this essay will argue that there are far more negative points than positive ones. So now the grammar and the vocabulary is much better.
Okay, so let's review. You need to paraphrase the statement, so repeat the key information from the statement, by either changing the grammar or using different words, or possibly both. If you decide to use different words, you need to make sure that the meaning is the same as the meaning in the question. Try and use academic words. Add a little more information to show that you fully understood the topic. Show how you are going to organise the rest of the essay. And finally, try to avoid common grammar mistakes. Okay, so now you need to go and practice on your own. Practice writing an introduction for a writing part 2 question. Good luck!